Hello, everybody. How to plan for your future and enjoy the journey. Now, that's something really to think about, isn't it? I mean, think about this. We plan more for a vacation than we do for, say, our retirement or for what we say in our life or for how we want our life to be. So it's just something to consider. So think back about the last vacation you took, and all that to making that vacation everything that you wanted it to be, and the excitement you as you planned and prepared for the trip. Now I'm going to give you some things to consider here. We've spent weeks deciding where to go and who to go with and how we were going to get there. We've carefully selected what to pack, and our suitcases are ready to go and full. Remember, we could barely get it closed, and luckily we had a suitcase that had straps on it so you could strap it down to make sure it didn't blow open and all our underwear blew out all over the place. The road trip, if that's how we were going to do it, is all mapped out. Where we're going to stop, what we were going to do, in my case, where the bathrooms are, that kind of stuff. I mean, that's for us old guys. You know what restaurants, all right, we will stop and eat at, and what days are going to visit, what sites, and, pardon me, not only what days, but approximately what time, and we got it pretty well ironed out. And then in the days leading up to the trip, we could hardly even sleep. And we were so incredibly excited. Now think about this now. What if all this I just spoke to you, we used to plan out our lives? We actually got excited about having a say in how our lives turned out, and then actually fighting to live into what we wanted. Gee, there's a thought. So too bad we don't put that kind of effort into planning our futures. I mean, think about it. Just imagine the fun you could have. Planning for your business, all right, and your career successes, or planning for your retirement. Now, that's getting to be a big one. If you look around, you'll notice that the world is full of white hairs. And for you guys who don't know what that means baby boomers. That means people that are hitting their early 60s or mid-60s. What if we, put a financial plan together with that kind of excitement like we're going on vacation? I mean, do you know that 61% of the people that are retiring don't have retirement money put away? Do you know what it's going to be like in 10 years? We're all going to have to be taking care of all those folks. And then here's a good one. What if we could have fun planning for your physical well-being? Like going to the gym or taking up a hobby that gets your heart beating faster than the clicker. I thought that's a pretty good example. Life is as much about creating a plan for that life as it is about living it. I mean, think about that. We live our lives going, oh, I should have. Oh, I didn't. Oh, I wish I had have. Oh, I knew I should have. I knew I should have, but I didn't do it. Okay? So why don't we plan as much for our lives as we do for our vacations? For many of us, and here we go, boy, here comes some truth. For many of us, we ignore, or ignorance is bliss, but also we ignore what we know we should do, and we just don't do it. And we're continually running from fear. So why do we want to face up to frightening scenarios? And by the way, a frightening scenario is something your mind makes up that you know is true, but you hide behind the frightening scenario that is all made up. So what if we could give up fear around our future? Or we don't want to think big only to get knocked down. In other words, I don't want to get out there and say I'm going to do certain things and then I don't do it. I'd rather think big thoughts and not do them than to think no thoughts at all. What a concept, huh? Besides fear, we don't have a team. And you ask me, well, Clay, why in the heck should we have a team if we don't know what we're doing? It's because you can ask the team to push you until you do know what you're doing. Plus, if you could get to where you're going by yourself, you'd be there already. And if you look around, you'll notice you're not there. So we need to ask people to hold us accountable, which is another topic that we need to discuss, is we as human beings absolutely hate to be held accountable. We don't mind holding others accountable, but we don't like being held accountable. You know, I know this is going to be hard for you all to believe, but I've actually taught people stuff to do the right way, and guess who's not doing it the right way? Yeah, you guessed it, Clay. All right? So we dread accountability in the short term. Not living from a plan may actually be a bit more fun. That's what we think. What if we could plan out and actually say, by this age, I'm going to have that, by that age, I'm going to have this plan, by, you know, so on and so forth. What if I actually took that into account and actually put a plan together for, well, I'm healthy enough, or, well, I have the flexibility I have, I'm going to do A, B, C, D to prepare for when I don't have the flexibility. You know? So if you're dodging your team and accountability, all right, it may be fun to do and fun to skip around in the short term, but the joy doesn't last long. If you get to the age of, say, 67 to 70 years old, only to discover that you have to keep working because you don't have enough money saved in order to live the life you want to live. Now think about that now. Most people, and I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I've been coaching for 30 years plus, and almost everybody I've coached says the same thing. When I ask them what their future plan is, they say they don't have one. And I ask them by when will they have one, they said they'll get to it. They just haven't gotten to it yet. And that they know, yes, I know, I'll get to it, don't worry. And I'm not worried for me, I'm worried for you. Plus, you have to know kind of what your life, or what you'd like your life to be like when you turn retirement age, which could be anywhere from 65 to 75, or anywhere from one physical impairment to the next physical impairment, you know? You never know what's going to happen, so you kind of have to plan for it, or you have to have an agreement with your kids that you're going to move into their house when you get old and decrepit and cranky. And I'm sure your kids will probably want to have a say in that. So when you get to the age of 67 to 77, or in that range somewhere, only to discover that you have to keep working because you don't have enough money and you don't have a clue of what you're supposed to be doing or want to do. Or better yet, if you have an idea of how you'd like your life to be, you haven't done the due diligence enough to figure out how much that life is going to cost every month and how much money you got for how many months. If it takes you 3 times longer to accomplish something than it would if you had only asked for help, there's the accountability. Yeah, you know, you forget that if you're a Lone Ranger, it's going to take you a long time to get a lot of things done because you're not 20 anymore. You're not 30 anymore. You're 70. So it takes longer to do simple things. Or if you don't have a team that holds you accountable for keeping your edge sharp, you know, that means your mind turned on, not the TV turned on, your mind turned on. And on task, all right, on task means that you have a purpose for your life. You got things that you have to do, they're additive. And the end product is you have the life you want. Funding, F-U-N-D-I-N-G, funding to the level that you can live the life you want. And that, you know, also that you give up living your dream now. Think about this, all right? So if you don't have the team that holds you accountable for keeping your edge sharp and on task, and you give up living your dream now and settle for less than what you really want and deserve, think about that. That's depressing. It's like, why am I on the planet? What in the heck am I supposed to do here? Be depressed? I mean, I could be depressed about a lot of things, but I don't want to be depressed about the only thing I really have a say in, and that's how I want my life to be. So you have to be able to take care of yourself health-wise, financially, and direction. You have to be able to say, this is who I am, this is what I want, and by when, and it's going to cost this much. And so you all ask me, well, how do you figure that out? It's easy. You just guess and do the best guessing you can. That's all any other financial planner is going to do. They're going to add up all the other people's guesses. They're going to take an average by the number of people into the amount for the guesses, and they're going to come up with a number. Hell, you can do that yourself. You don't need to pay somebody to do that for you. All right? The cost of not playing full out and having a plan for your life is pretty obvious. I mean, do you want to quit living your life, out of your head and start planning for and creating the life you say you want to live and have fun doing it? Now, think about that now. Do you want to quit living your life out of your head? All right? It's called Fantasy Island. And start planning for and creating the life you say you want. Like having a say in how your life turns out with the buy, win, attached, and how much. And actually have fun doing it. I mean, actually laugh about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and what makes you get stopped. Whoa. So you have to have a vision. Now, this is where you look forward 20 years or 30 years, and you make up what your life is going to be like. Now, when I say make up, your minds go, well, how do you do that? Well, you have to understand something. When you graduated from college, or you graduated from high school, or you just stepped out the door, you went into the service and you came out, you decided at one time or another, I'm going to go be this. Could be a doctor, a dentist, could be a lawyer, could be a carpenter, could be a plumber, could be all kinds of things. And by the time you were 25 to 30 in that range, you had become it. Now, when you made up what you were going to be, you thought it was going to take a lifetime and you wouldn't have to make up anything more. So when you got to what you made up, all right, you just started going brain dead a little bit each year after that, because you thought it was going to take the rest of your life to get to be what you made up you wanted to be. And it didn't. It only took 30 years. So your creative mind stopped creating. So what you got to do is you got to get that creative mind of yours to start creating again in your own behalf. And you've already done it once successfully, or maybe twice successfully, or maybe 3 times successfully. But this is the biggie. You have to take the time to make up what your life is going to look like at 75, how much it's going to cost every month, what your physical well-being is going to be, what your marriage is going to look like, what being with your kids is going to look like. And quite frankly, if you're going to take up space on the planet, what are you going to contribute back to the planet? Because that's the job of the white hairs. And you have to remember that the world doesn't owe you anything. So if you're going to sit back on your tokens and do nothing, that's what you're going to get. And instead of living the life you want, the way you want, financially the way you want, with the people that you want, you're going to be on welfare. And Social Security doesn't cover it, okay? Social Security does not cover it. I mean, it costs me about $35,000 a month to live, and I'm 70 years old now. And my Social Security is $2,100 a month. So you see where there's a bit of a difference there? $2,100 versus $35,000. Let me see now. I think I'm going to starve to death if I don't have a plan. And I do have a plan, by the way, because I'm so incredibly cool. Now, it took me a long time to learn how to have fun designing my future. It took me a long time to be able to ask Susan, my wife, if she had to design for her future. It took us a long time to tell each other straight up how we wanted our futures to be. And over the years, we've learned what that is going to be. That's why I'm living in Montana up on a mountain right now, looking out at the bridges. It's drop dead gorgeous. It's getting ready to snow tonight. We love the snow. I love the animals that are walking all over the place. We've got deer and baby deer and elk and black bears and all kinds of stuff out here. I even have my own snowblower. I am ready for years of snowblowing. And I'm having a good time doing it. And the longer I do it, the happier I get, the longer I'm going to live. Stress can kill you. All right? So you got to watch out for that. So it's like what I'm talking to you about today is really, really important. It's like doctors say that if you have cancer, it's more about you wanting to get over cancer than it is what the doctors do for you. It's all about your mindset. So when I finally learned that about 15 years ago, I went, oh, maybe I am the only person that has a say in how my life turns out. I better get it together and start saying what that is. I mean, what a thought, huh? Wow. You know? All right. So you have to have a vision, and you have to love that vision. If you don't love what you're doing, why in the heck are you doing it? Silence. Doom, doom, doom. Let you guys think about that. If you don't love what you're doing, why in the heck are you doing it? And if you have to do it, you better learn how to love it. Silence. Dun, dun, dun. You all get that? So your creative juices are at their greatest when you are having fun. Okay? Remember we talked at the beginning of this talk about going for a vacation? Remember how much fun that was? I mean, sitting at the dining room table with all the kids and your wife, or sitting at the dining room table with your wife and another couple or two couples that are going to go with you, you know, either on Harleys or in a station wagon or on a flight somewhere or whatever. Remember how much fun that planning was? You know, and how you kind of had to shut yourself down because you couldn't do everything you were thinking about doing in the time you had. But it was all about absolutely having so much fun and feeling so good. It was absolutely amazing. And if you're sitting down and doing this when you had a cold, it's amazing how well you felt after you did all this. The cold kind of went away, you know. So you have to let loose and have fun and step away from the norm. You have to allow yourself to consider, you know, where your out-of-the-box thoughts can take your business or your family. And it just might be outrageous enough to take your work where you want it. Now think about that now. If who we are as human beings, and human beings make up the life they live, although they think other people make it up, they don't, we do. All right, if that's the case, then why don't we make up good stuff? Stuff that puts a smile on our face, that puts passion in our life, that has our heart want to make a difference on the planet. So know what you want for your life as a whole. All right? Now, people ask me all the time, what if I know today, but it changes for tomorrow? Then take your plan and throw the one you got away and write a new one. Duh. So what do you want to be doing or experiencing, or who do you want to be experiencing it with, and by when? There's the kicker. By when? What's important to you? Now remember, you got to think big and you got to write it down, okay? Whatever you create, the reason why you write it down is so you don't have to store it in your head. So what's next can be created by your brain. So if you write down what you want, put it in an envelope, put it in the safety deposit box in your bank, and then a year from now you get it out and you read it and you go, hey, wait a minute, this isn't what I want anymore. And everybody goes, well, shoot, that idea didn't work. So they just throw it away and sit there like being dumbfounded, not thinking, not having to say how their life turns out. So what I do is when I get it out of the safety deposit box and I read it, I go, wait a minute, that's not what I want to do now, is I write a new plan. You got it? And after a while, the plans you write will work over many years, okay? And the cost of the plans will be covered no matter what the minor changes are. Okay, so you must write your plan down. Writing your plan is the first step in turning dreams into reality. Ooh, that's a good one. Writing your plan, and this is your retirement plan, or this is what you deserve after participating on the planet for 75 years. Excuse me. Writing your plan is the first step in turning dreams into reality. If you can't write it, you can't speak it. And if you can't speak it, you can't ask for help getting there. Now think about this. If you can't write it down, you can't speak it. If you can't speak it, you can't ask for help getting there. So you have to be able to put your creative thoughts into language. All right? Otherwise, you can't share it, and you can't ask for help to get there. Remember, if you could get there without help and being by yourself, guess what, guys? You would be there already. And most of us can't do that. So we have to ask for help because we can't do it by ourselves. It's bigger than any one person can do. So if you can't language what you want, like people ask you, well, what do you want out of your life? And you go, hey, let me see. I want to make sure there's cream for my coffee. And that's as big as people think, you know? When people ask me that, I want to get the personal planning workshop going again. I want to make a difference with another 10,000 people, just like I did 20 years ago. I want to get the What's Next workshop going again for all the exceptional people and how to design from nothing, how to clearly make up a future and go live into it. Whew, scary stuff. I want to write another book, all right? I want to play with my kids. I want to play with my grandchildren. If my daughter would just hurry up and make one, you know what I mean? I mean, my God. So it's like, what is it you want? You have to involve your team in creating your plan. When you involve your team, the team has ownership and interest in the plan, and they often have ideas that you haven't thought up yourself. So remember, if you could get to where you were going by yourself, you would be there already, and you're not. So you need a team, you know? And one thing that I didn't think of that I need to say is you have to be willing to be contributed to. So a team will give you ideas or present ideas to you that you haven't thought of. And instead of being negative about it, go, oh, cool, let's add that. So the more you can be contributed to, the easier it will be to generate a plan that you can own like the rest of your life. You know, nowhere does it say that the plan has to be 100% created by you and your experience. It could absolutely be created by we and our experience. So you want to write down everything you know about where you're going and what you want to be. All right, remember, you've already done this, so there's nothing new. All right, what you write down at first doesn't have to be in logical order. Just get it down on paper. I call it puking. Just write down what's between your ears. So what you haven't thought of can show up. You can't make up stuff from a brain that's plugged up full of knowing. I want to get to a place where I don't know anymore, and then surprises happen. You know, epiphanies happen. All right, when everything you know is on paper, what you don't know about the plan will show up. Now listen to that now. When everything you know, K-N-O-W, is on paper, all right, what you don't know about your plan will show up. Then you can create a plan for how to deal with what you don't know. You'll discover issues such as where is marketing missing? Where is team missing? Where are you operating on hope instead of being a visionary? Ooh, that's a biggie. I hope I'm going to be okay when I'm 75. Horse pucky. You better know you're going to be okay and know why you're going to be okay when you get to 75. And how much does it cost to live the future you have written down? You got to have the creative mind out there making up stuff that adds up into dollars. And you have to be able to make up, you know, what the economy is going to be doing. Depends on your age. But for me, when I did this, I was 51 or 52. So where I am now, I had 25, 30 years to go. So I had to make up what the world's going to be doing from back then to now. And I really didn't plan for the world to take a huge dump like it has. So I had to rewrite the plan several times. I had to burn some of my savings. I had to make sure I didn't sell property at the wrong time. I had to really be able to dance with the changes the world put forth to me. I had to go, oh, damn, now what do I do? That plan isn't going to work. I had to be able to release it, let it go, so I could create another one. All right? Right now, you need to build your team with like-minded individuals, and you got to understand this one. You don't want to have people on your team that are opposed to the way you think, or that think your thinking isn't right or doesn't work, or they don't like it. Because it's not about that kind of agreement. There's a reason why we don't want our children to start hanging around with the wrong crowd. Because if they do, eventually they will start acting like those that they've spent time with, and this isn't something we grow out of. So if you want big things for your life, you need to have the people in your life who want big things for their lives. So we all come together and give each other what each other needs. And that is a plan right now. What discussion is, that is a plan for ages 70 to 75, or actually it's about 67 to 77 years old. And that's if your health hangs in there that long. All right? So keep your goals or your plan visible. Now, if you write a plan and you don't tack it up on the wall someplace so it stays in your conscious mind. If you write immediately, go put it in your safety deposit box, you'll forget about that plan. So you want to keep the plan visible for a couple of months after you read it. After you wrote it. All right, and then go put it away and see what happens. But you have to get your plan out every 2 months and take a look at it. The first 2 months, you keep it visible up on the wall, or you put it on your refrigerator door, or you put it on the wall in your bedroom, or I don't know if I put it on the wall in my bathroom, the plan could get soggy. Anyway, so you have to think about where's the best and safest place to put it. And you have to give up worrying about what if somebody else reads this plan? Oh my gosh, what will they think? I don't care what they think. I only care what I think. You all get that? It's not about agreement. It's about you getting what you say you want. About you making up a future that you can live into, that you can financially support, that you will fight to be with. It is not about anybody else. So they can read if they want, they can contribute if they want, but they can't tell you to make it different unless you want to. So hiding it is not the way to go. And I want people around me to learn before I did, all right, to write their plans sooner so they don't walk into the places I'm walking into now and going, holy mackerel, I didn't plan for this. You all get it? Sounds kind of serious. It's not, as long as you live life with a kind of a giggle in your throat. And you just go, oh, this is cool. I'm going to watch myself get, wangle my way out of this one. This is going to be good. All right? So you have to build your team with like-minded individuals, all right? You don't want people on your team that make you wrong. You don't want people on your team that don't help you. You don't want people on your team that want something majorly different than you do. You want people on your team that come together and want generally the same thing as you want. Not specifically, not line item by line item, but they understand the retirement age, they understand the amount of money, they understand the devising of a future, they understand about making up and having a say in how your life turns out, okay? So you have to keep your goals and your plan visible. You have to keep your eye on the big picture. And guess who's the big picture? I'll give you a hint. It's you, okay? If you don't keep your eye on the big picture, the chaos and unexpected pleasures and sorrows in your life will get in the way of you getting to where you say you want to go. You understand? Now, I'm going to go off a little bit onto what tools you use to do this. Susan and I have, one of those stand-up easels with the big pads of paper. We have one in the office where Susan's office is, and they have one in the living room. And we keep, pins there all the time. So when we have a thought or whatever about retirement, we write it down on that pad. And then once a month, we go through and update that pad and add the things that we want to keep to the plan. So it's all about having a place to dump what's in between the years onto paper. and those stand-up easels and pads with good ink pens, you know, the kind that kids use that smell good and that you can write big enough to see it all the way from the kitchen, all right? You don't do it with a little ink pen, but you write it big. And it works really great to keep your plan present to your mind, you know. And then next is ever so often, Susan and I will sit down on the couch, and believe it or not, we don't fall asleep. Pretty good, huh? And we read the plan or read what we've written on the pad, and we just work through it, and we do it together. So it's a we retirement plan. It's not an I retirement plan. Okay, although I feel very manly, and I feel like I'm really taking care of her, that she absolutely couldn't do it without me because I'm so incredibly cool. And she lets me think that. It's really cool. So now, last but not least, right, is enjoy the journey. Now, what do I mean by enjoying the journey? When you are present to the journey, the destination is made that much sweeter because you can really appreciate what it took to get there. And the fun you had or good times or the good you encountered along the way. Gee, what the hell was that? Now, what does being present meant? I mean, you all get that part about enjoy the journey. You can have fun planning for the future. It doesn't have to be so scary that it just stops your brain, all right, or makes your mouth get dry, or makes you want to hide out from it, you know, the fear stuff. So what is the key to enjoying your journey? So I've got several things here I want to address, and this is really hot. I found over the years of teaching this topic and living this topic that these, there's 4 or 5 things here that absolutely you should, you know, be present to. So, oh, look at this, be present. So be present to where your feet are, all right? Now, what's it mean to be present to where your feet are? Now, what I want to know is if you're on this call, you can stand up just for a second and get away from your computer or however you're listening to me. Stand up, back away a little bit, and look straight down. Now, many of you, if your stomachs are small enough, what you'll see is your feet. And if you can't see your feet, maybe there is something you should do about your health, you know? Or you've been endowed with parts of the anatomy that's pretty outrageous. I don't know. Whoa, that's as far as I'm going with that one. Now, what we need to do at this point is understand what would it be like to absolutely have our brain be where our feet are all the time. You know, I can remember in my younger years where I'd be in a meeting and I'd walk out of one meeting and walk right into another meeting, but my head was in the first meeting, okay? Or I was in a family discussion and one of my children just got through talking to me and all of a sudden the other child starts talking and my head's still with the first baby that started talking. You know, how in the heck do you stay up with everything? And what I made up is I want my head to be wherever my feet are, all right? I want to be present wherever my feet are, or I want to be present to who I'm being at the time. Now, there's a way to explain this. It's called be, do, have. People spend their lives doing so they can have. You know, they do their jobs and get enough money to buy their bass boat. Or they do their jobs so they get enough money to make the payments on their house with the little white picket fence someplace in Nebraska. Or they do whatever it is they do so they can have whatever it is they want. And the truth is, life is not about doing so you can have. None of that stuff matters. Life is all about being. Who am I being and what is it causing? Who am I being and where am I leaving people? Who am I being and am I teaching people something or do they feel made wrong and shut down? All right? So do you want to be cranky, frazzled, single-minded, or do you want to be open to new possibilities, learning, and simply having fun? You know, like be present to what is the best way of you being to make the biggest difference in another's life. That will automatically take care of yours. Anybody wants to discuss that, call me up. Now, the second one is be patient, all right? If you're in a hurry and you miss the best parts of your journey, what good is the journey? Don't be so impatient to get to where you're going that you are deprived of what there is to see and appreciate in the world around you. You know what I mean? Don't miss opportunities to learn what there is to learn that's in front of you. Don't miss opportunities to have fun where there is fun to be had. Whoa, now there's a thought. I'm pretty sure too much fun is against the law, though. I'm not quite sure, but I heard that someplace. So allow yourself to be held accountable for slowing down. In other words, have people, when they see you turn into jet man or jet woman, allow them to slow you down and really enjoy what you're doing. It's not about getting there faster. It's about enjoying getting there. All right? So it's like, let me see, how do I want to say this? If you write a plan and there's no by when's on, in other words, if you don't put a date on sections of the plan, I'm going to do this by when, then the plan will never come together. All right? And if you write a plan with no by when's, and you'll never know if you're halfway there or, oh my gosh, I better get there because I got to move on to the next section of the plan and it has another date on it. So it's all about a way to put a date on a piece of paper and then agreeing that that date is going to be the accountability for the whole program. You'll need other people, but you all need to agree by when you're going to have what done. What do you think about that one? And you notice in this whole presentation, it's all about you making up, having an imagination. With that imagination, you make up what's going on. You make up what you want. You make up how much it's going to cost. You make up how you're going to pay for it. You make up your health. You make up the team that's around you. You make up, your overall future just prior to your demise. I mean, as best you can. And then you have to go live it. And you got to have some by-wins in there. You got to be smart enough to slow down and enjoy the trip. You got to be smart enough to understand that nobody's going to write this plan for you. So you really have to get that sometimes there are things you have to do in life that is strictly for you. This is one of them. This is absolutely one of them. And you want to do it out in the open so your kids can know what you're doing, so your partners at work can know what you're doing. And what I call that is you have to be willing to be a teacher. You have to be willing to take the chance and to gamble. Yeah, people are going to think you're wacko. People are going to think you're worried about stuff you don't need to be worried about. But let me tell you, if you get this plan done and update it several times a year, you're going to be in much better shape than most people around you, all right? So finally, don't forget, you are the only person who has a say in how your life turns out. Just get that one. I'm going to say it again now. You are the only person, or put in there, I am the only person who has a say in how my life turns out. No one else has a say. What I actually do with what I learn is my decision. When somebody shoots a gun at somebody, the guy that pulls the trigger, he has to decide to pull the trigger. It is not anybody else's fault. They decide to pull the trigger. And if they do and they pull it, they have to, be held for the circumstance. Be held for the consequences. All right, if I'm the only person that say how my life turns out, if sometime down the road you discover that the plan you have for your life isn't really what you want after all, change it. Duh. If you don't have what you want and you're the only person that can say that or change that, you have to change it. There is nothing written in stone that says your life has to be a certain way. All plans are meant to be updated and updatable. Check that out. Life isn't so much about getting to where you're going, but rather the enjoyment of the journey, as well as what you learned along the way. Now, that's a good one. What I've learned along the way in my journey has changed not only the direction, okay, but the location and the people I play with many times. And it's because I chose it. I want to go see what's over there. I want to go see what fly fishing's all about. I want to go see what it's like to live in a small place, single-level house with 2 bulldogs, 3 cats, my wife, and a whole bunch of snow. Let me tell you, I've learned about that. So why not take on life from a perspective of enjoying the trip, not always having to be a slave driver that keeps the train moving, but as the passenger that is along for the ride. Guess what? It's pretty cool. If you haven't done it yet, I suggest you take it on. So I'm going to give this to you again. So why not take on life from the perspective of enjoying the trip, not always having to be the slave driver that keeps the train moving along, but as the passenger that is along for the ride. See, the kids aren't going to remember if you arrive someplace on time. The kids are going to remember who you being on the trip. If you're being a jerk, that's what they're going to remember. If you're being a happy camper with something to say about the trip or during the trip, they're going to remember that. Those are going to be the stories that you talk about. I mean, my kids still talk to me about when we've gone camping, you know, and we have the campfire at 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and we start the scary stories. My kids still talk about the scary stories, I would say. And I would see them sitting in their own chairs when we started out, and after about a half hour of me talking and getting scarier and scarier, I looked over and I saw both my daughter and my son sitting in their mom's lap, and I just was going for it. And that's what they talk about. They talk about me having fun with them. They're talking about Dad's stories were really real. I know they were. So you have to understand that it's not about, you know, getting there. It's about enjoying the trip. As you enjoy the trip, it may change the there you want to get. So what might you learn that you would have not learned otherwise, or would have otherwise missed? Who might you get to know? That's been a good one. And I've met so many cool people that I would have never met if I didn't get out on these journeys. All right? What difference could be made in you and in another from you? What difference could you make in another and watch them transfer that energy and that lesson to someone else in almost the same time? How much more fun could you have, you know? And don't forget, you could go to prison for having too much fun, all right? Watch yourself. If you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you. How much happier might your life be if you lived everything that was discussed today, all right? So there you go. How to have, all right? How to have a plan for your future and enjoy the journey, all right? How to make up, just like Walt Disney, how to make up a plan for yourself that is totally made up, that is what you want based on what you know today, that has a clock on it, has an amount on it, has a team with it, has a family in it, and so on. I call that life. Pretty cool. All right, if I can help any of you anywhere, anytime, call me. I'm at area code 406-587-7482. And if you're stopped and you can't generate the life you want, I dare you. Call me up. We'll generate it. I give you my word. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you next month.
If anybody has any questions, and I know we have one in the queue already, if you want to go ahead and type those into the box, we have a few more minutes for questions. Clay, the first question we have here is, who would a young adult want to use on their team to write their plan?
Well, who do you know that thinks somewhat like you do? Maybe they don't understand the value of writing a plan yet, but they do. They are big enough in your analysis to understand what you're doing and may want to know more about what you're doing when you present it to them. And there are people in your life, when you think about those people, they'll show up, I guarantee it. That's where they come from.
Okay, the next question is, as far as, keeping perspective and looking at the big picture and keeping that in mind, we have our plan, this thing to guide us as we go along. But in our day-to-day, moment-to-moment life, what is the number one thing, Clay, or suggestion you would give to people to help them stop and smell the roses? I mean, like when, the day has become a complete disaster, nothing's going the way you thought it should be. Remember how our Monday was or our Tuesday after the holiday, Clay? We're like, what in the world? And we laughed about it because that's all we could do.
Yeah.
So, but what suggestions would you have for people out there when that happens?
The number one thing I would say to them is the thing you want to start practicing is if you go a half a day and you haven't learned something or laughed at something, whoa, you're the problem. Y'all got it? It's just like Beth, what you said about, remember when I called you on Tuesday morning, I said, how's your day going? You're going, wow, it's been nuts. And I said, so is mine. And we just cracked up. And I can remember years of you and I working together when we took it seriously, wanted to fix it and change it and overpower it and make people wrong and all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. And this time we just laughed. And next, it was great.
It was actually turned out into a fun day. So
yeah, and laughing isn't against the law, especially if you're laughing at yourself. It's probably not a good idea to laugh at yourself while you're driving. People probably get a little upset with you if the car was going all over the road.
Well, it definitely is about having a sense of humor. And here's another question that has come in. I thought about digressing somewhere, but I won't do that.
Yeah, no digressing. No digressing.
So where is the line, or is there a line between enjoying the journey and just plain old procrastination? I mean, could some people take that and
this is where the phrase "I'll get to it." People live in the "I'll get to it" module. There's enough of them. There's a big part of them knowing what should be going on, but who they're being is stuck. So they have to give up knowing and move out into action. You all get it? So knowing what you should be doing and not doing it is not good enough. Knowing is not the answer. All right? Action is the answer.
So it gets...
Team is the answer. If you know you're stuck, ask for help. And then people always go, well, who do I ask? Call your mother. She'll know what you're talking about.
So it all
Call me. Talk to your kids. Your kids will know what you're talking about. By the way, if you have your kids hold you accountable for action with something you want to get done, you better really want it, because kids will hold you accountable. Anything else, Bethy?
Just one other question here, and this relates to a couple. You have one couple, one half of the couple that gets the enjoy the journey part of life, and then the other half of the couple is high strung and so forth. How would you suggest they come about balancing that? Or
the enjoy the journey person has to stop making the wired control monster wrong. All right? You can't change or fix someone else. They have to change themselves. So you have to give them enough room to watch you enjoying the trip to where they can start in their own small little way enjoying the small pieces of the trip until they can really start seeing the enjoyment is much better than the control. Ooh, that was good, huh, Beth?
Yeah, that was, and it really, there's like a theme in all of the answers, and it's a good thing, and it's a great reminder. It's about being present to who we're being.
It's about creating the space of what you want.
Mm-hmm. And even when, and this is kind of where I was thinking about earlier. I mean, I'm thinking about the world events and what the things that are going on currently in the world and what that can do to how you think and how you behave and just your overall general feeling in a day, after you've seen the news. And even dealing with that, I think, is about who you choose to be. And so, do you have any thoughts on that?
This way I don't know if this is the correct time to speak this, but And what's going on in the world now, we're damaging so many kids. It's just unbelievable. And that's all I have to say about that.
Got it.
Okay.
So we all need to be the lights. That's what I have. That's my 2 cents on that. So.
Yeah, say that louder. We all need to be the lights. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be the choice.
Absolutely.
Okay, are we done?
We are. I think that's a good way to end it. We don't have any other questions. And I just want to thank everybody from myself for being here and sticking with us. Not one person dropped off during questions and answers, and I think that's awesome. So thank you for being here, and watch your email for follow-up and so forth.
Yeah, I want to ask, I'd like to have some input on what they think about me starting the personal planning workshop again.
Great.
Remember, we made a difference for thousands of people with the personal planning workshop in developing your purpose and, quite frankly, developing a language that says why you're on the planet. What the heck are you doing here?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I want to start that up again. And what do these folks think about that?
Yes, so we'll be looking for your input. So we'll be sending out some emails and even making some telephone calls. And I hope that you'll take a few minutes to talk with us. So.
Yeah, and hello, Mr. Alderdice. Nice to hear from you after, 30 years. Come on back and play, I dare you. All right, see you later.
All right, thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.